Hello, homies. Can I say homies? Hello, friends.
Is
It's
it
Chris and
cultural
Aaron.
appropriation? Are we?
It's it's Chris and Aaron coming at you for another episode of the Mindful CEO, where we
This show is all about cultural appropriation and the what it's going to take to be woke enough.
I mean, if some of you longtime listeners haven't created bingo cards yet for what Aaron and I might say in an episode that is cultural appropriation or whatever, then I think you're missing out.
You are missing out because we've never gone into this before because we don't really care about it, which is what we're going to talk about is doing what you really care about.
Hey, oh, usually,
Oh,
dude, I feel
thank
like I'm
you.
usually the one to just to segue or bridge, but you
No, no,
nailed that.
I fucking nailed that.
You
That's a
nailed that.
10 out of 10. We can go now.
Okay, let's begin.
Whoa, eBay just let me know something on my phone, which is something weird. Okay.
That's too
Um,
funny.
yes. All right. Well, what were we? Oh, we were talking about doing what you
Yeah.
love.
Yeah, aligned action.
Because the question comes up and it comes up for me. And these are so when we say the question comes up, it sounds like we mean that we get this question from our listeners all the time, which we would love if you had questions that you submitted and we had things to talk about other than what pops through our two fucking heads. But when I say the question comes up, what I mean is between my ears, this question comes up. This is a
Yeah.
question that I have from time to time. So, but that is a plug for you all listening to let us know.
Yeah, you could do that, by the way, since we're talking about it. The mindfulceo.com, you'll see in the navigation, there's a button, a little link that says contact. You click that and it takes you to a form. And you can just put a little message in the message box and hit send, and it'll come straight to us. So,
Okay,
bloop.
good. Now, what the question is, um, there's a dopey question that I do get from people, and now I'm judging the question, but it is sort of a dopey question, like the question about manifesting versus acting.
Mhm.
And that I think that's a dopey question. I think that's a you have
Because you would say you have to take action.
yeah, the only thing that produces a result is action. I don't think there's uh, I think that's obvious, but the problem or sort of the hidden context for that is well, it's not really manifesting if you're taking action. You're building it, you're doing something about it. It's not just coming to you.
Mm.
Um, And I just think that's just a really weird way to look at manifesting. It's not like you meditate and you wake up and there's gold at your feet. The idea is that the actions that you take are aligned with what you really care about. They don't occur like forcing something. It doesn't look like you're trying to make something happen. You're not resisting something. You're not doing something to avoid a result.
Right.
You're doing it because, and you're not even particularly doing it to achieve a result. You're doing it because you love doing it and you're in the presence of loving doing it.
Well,
And
that's the part I think people don't get. I think that's the tricky part of that. Like, if I'm a real estate agent, let's put this in our world. I'm a
yes,
real estate agent and I'm wanting to manifest six figures.
yes,
And then I think, okay, now I have to take inspired action, but I don't like calling my sphere of influence. I don't like door knocking. I don't like doing lead generation. Now,
good.
I mean, so it's like, how do I make myself like that is sort of
Yeah,
where people go. They go like, I try to convince myself or I try to psych myself up or I'll do like a bunch of journal affirmations that say, I love prospecting. I love prospecting. I love prospecting, but it doesn't change the identity. It doesn't change my feeling about it.
right.
So it's never aligned action. It's forced action. It's contrived. It's made up.
I totally get that. That's true. So there's a bunch of different things. I'm interested in the Jim Collins version of this though, because that's how you and I got into this.
right. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have some thoughts about that. Should I start my thoughts and then we'll get into Jim
Yeah.
Collins?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, this is something that sort of I've grappled with that. That is a question that I've had for a long time. And my in my past, the action that I take around that historically had been As soon as I really feel like I don't love this action and I'm not going to, I quit and go do something that I like,
Mm-hmm.
which, has kept me in about a 10-year cycle for things. Although in real estate, I'm now in 13, going on 14,
Mm.
because something happened about 3 years ago, actually, maybe 5 years ago. But that's been my cycle is that I mean, I started that bakery. I was in art school and then I started the bakery and then, I sold it and went to Landmark and then I stopped Landmark and I got into real estate. You know, I
Mm.
had something that I loved about it enough to have the actions be,
Yeah.
aligned actions. Like this is good. I don't know that I ever loved the picking up the phone and calling expireds,
Yeah.
but I love the game of the business enough to know, well, that's the action of the game, you know,
Right. Right.
and that is the action of that game. And I like the idea of making that money, and it was fun. And it was, it wasn't like I looked forward to the picking up the phone part, but I had my attention
Yeah.
on the bigger game. And that was just sort of the work that was
Right.
required to get me there. And so it did not occur as onerous, which is sort of what I was saying about my diet earlier. You know, I have my attention up high enough so that the stuff in the present, the actual detail work, doesn't occur as a big enough vibrational obstacle to completing it because my attention's on something bigger.
Yeah.
So my actions are aligned actions with that thing bigger. And in the past, I just quit when that future
Right.
stopped. And I think what's delayed it here in real estate is um, this conversation that Esther was having with someone, that you got to, everything's about feeling good, right? The whole meta of the whole conversation is
Yeah.
you're doing this to feel good. And when you feel good, the actions you take are aligned actions and they'll produce more of what you really want. All groovy, all cool. I totally get it. And from there, I don't love my job. I don't like the cold calling. I'm not going to do that. This isn't what I do anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how's it going to feel, just predictably, when you quit and don't have any money next month?
Right.
It's going to feel like shit. Okay, then maybe quitting isn't the feel good action to take here.
Mm.
Maybe that's not the thing to do. Maybe, you should sink into how good it's going to feel to actually have money to pay rent and sink into that and have your attention on that. And then the actions you take to fulfill on that are varied. You can do anything, you don't have to pick up the phone and call expireds. You can drop off CMAs at their door. I mean, whatever
Right.
strategies
Yeah.
inside the larger context of it's not necessary to quit, to give it all up,
Yeah.
because giving it all up is unlike if giving it all up is unlikely to produce happiness.
Right.
Um, and that's one way of tuning. That's how I handle that dissonance,
Right.
right? Um, I'm interested in Jim Collins because I got more access there. I have other things I could say about that.
Yeah. So I think that I think that's been a pretty for me at least that's been the way to handle the dissonance is to reframe the context. Like, let me find in what way will this feel good by doing it? So then I do it, right? Like, but I think there's an additional piece here that's opening up for me in the book that Jim Collins just wrote. And I think it's also validating some of the things I've taught over the years for designing um, lead generation in a way that feels congruent, not just uh, convincing myself that this is aligned or that like I did the work to get my mindset right, but that I actually already have something that feels really good to me, and I design that into
Mm,
my lead generation. It's the touch point, the way in which, the place in which I connect with people over. And we'll cover this, by the way, for those of you in real estate. We're going to cover this in our mindful agent course when we kick that off. But so reach out to us for that if you're interested. So let me give it to you how Jim Collins says it, and then we'll see if my other thoughts come into that as well. So this book is called "What to Make of a Life." What to make of a life. Hang on, let me just get rid of that. Okay. So in What to Make of a Life, Jim Collins, his whole MO is to um, study people. He studies companies or people or whatever. And in this case, he's got um, case studies of people who have made something of a life. And he also is very good at sort of decoding that into like, what's the teachable moment here? And so one of the things he talks about is encodings. Encodings. Like, I remember back in the day, he was, this was back from Good to Great, I think. He was talking about how he thought he was good at math in high school.
yeah.
And so he went to college. He thought, oh yeah, I'll be a math major or something like that. And then he got into the class with a bunch of kids who were really good at math and coded for math. And he's like, I'm not good at math. I thought I was good at math, but then I look at these guys and they're encoded. Like they're just wired. It came with the package. Like each of us have something like that. Each of us have things we're encoded for. It goes deeper than a strength. It's not just something I'm good at. It's not a curse of competence. It's not like, oh, I've done this so much, I'm good at it. No, like there's something that you do so well that nobody had to teach it to you, even, and you're drawn to it. And I think many of us, I think I've seen this a ton in real estate over the years. We get into a profession, a vocation, an industry, we look at how everybody else does it, and then we think, oh, that's how I have to do it. And we completely forget how we're wired, what we're encoded for, what we have a passion for. So we never design it. We go, oh, well, the teacher said I'm supposed to prospect. FISBO's and expired. So I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. And we
Right.
don't even consider what we're best at, what we're encoded for.
Right. Good. I mean, that's, I mean, I think that's critical, right? We do teach, that when I train agents and when I train people, it's what speaks to you. When
Yeah,
we do the calling work, it's not, you're not making it up. You're looking back.
right.
You're not creating something from nothing. You're looking, where have you been the happiest?
That's right. That's right.
Where have you
That's
been
right.
most expressed and fulfilled? And what are the common elements of all that? So when you know, a few years back when I decided not to leave real estate because I was at my 10-year cycle, or I could see the 10-year cycle coming, which is
Mm,
something I put together, a little bit before that, the, the nature of the cycle.
yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I'm ready to get out of this, and then I really had to look, okay, if I get out of this, what happens here with my family? Not happiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what am I good at? What does light me up about my business? What is it that I can put my awareness on, my attention on?
Yeah.
So I do a lot of prospecting to my existing clients, my sphere, baseball games and parties and taco days and things that I enjoy anyway. So I have
Mm,
no problem promoting it, no problem doing it, And then
mm.
there's the work of real estate, getting the house ready for sale or
Right.
working with the buyer and
Yeah.
negotiating and all the things that are, part of it, but I don't get to, you know, that's that's the design of that business right now. And so if I'm going to participate in it, I'm going to honor the design of it
Yeah.
and not particularly, argue with it. I don't have to put my attention on it. Again, this
Yeah.
meditation has
Right.
been
Right.
life changing in this way about agency of attention. Like I don't have to spin out on how much I hate this aspect or how much I dread that or what I don't want to do there. All those things exist, but they're just passing thoughts. They're like part of
mm,
the
mm,
waterfall that I can step behind. Okay, now, but what is it that I do want to put my attention on? Oh,
mm.
I'd like to put my attention on, you
Yeah.
know, the difference that commission will make for my family. I could do that. And I don't think that's the same thing as putting icing on dog shit.
Mm.
It's not sucking it up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the place that I had been at for all my life. If I stay here, I'm going to have to suck it up and
Mm,
be one of those, you know, uh, people that just does something they don't love to do.
mm.
Drone worker, just doing the thing you don't love,
Right.
um, make rent. And I think that's the extreme. I think there's, a middle way of,
Mm.
okay, you know, and these are the things that I'm encoded for. These are my
Uh,
zone of genius, right? That's another
uh,
framing of this. Is that the
yeah.
same
Yeah. I think it's
thought?
very similar. Yeah.
This
Yep.
is my zone of genius. This is what I'm encoded for. This is what I would do anyway. And then how can I do that? Then it's really a question
Yeah.
of, your ikigai,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? How can
Hmm.
I do that? Do what
Right.
I love, get paid for,
Right.
that I'm good at.
So if you could start with, I like the idea then start, like if you could start with your zone of genius, what are you encoded for? If you could start there, like look back in your life, like you said, look back and be like, what have I done that I've enjoyed so much? I would do it without getting paid. I've done it with an internal motivation. Like I love doing it. Uh, and then from there, think, okay, that's that. This is how real estate works. This is how business works, whatever. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to go make a living or whatever. How do those worlds meet? How do I overlap? How do I design what's required of me in my vocation with what I'm encoded for? Example for me in business. I'm sitting with this question as I'm reading this book, and I'm like, okay, I'm encoded for coaching, teaching, love it. I would do that. I feel it. He has an ice skater in here. One of the first female
Mm,
Olympic gold medalist is one of the case studies, and she in the book she's describing how it felt for her to be on the ice. She's like, I just felt like I was flying. I just like she just could feel it, you know. And when I'm teaching, that's I feel that it's another energy,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and I love it. And so I think, okay, but I got into business, and I've told myself for a long time now that I have to generate leads and I have to build landing pages and websites and I have to figure out podcasting and marketing and social media. And I spent a lot of years going down the road of things I think I have to learn,
Hmm.
neglecting, or at least not going all in on the thing I'm encoded for.
Yeah.
I'll every now and then I'll let myself out to go teach or coach. And then I go back for the majority of my time building a landing page, sending out an email, trying to create a social media post. Like and I'm also sitting with what am I not encoded for, which is I think probably healthy, but I've been unwilling to look at it because I was afraid of the answer. Like I don't think I'm encoded um to sell a bunch. Like I'm not like there are some people I think are encoded to sell. Like they're good at
Mm,
that. They're good at that, or they're
yeah.
good at marketing. Like they understand headlines, colors, conversions, funnels. I spent a lot of time figuring that out. And I, like Jim Collins going to college for math, like I can see those guys are encoded for that. I'm not. I'm a good student and I'll fucking hustle, but I'm only ever mediocre at it. And rather than that being I'm not being self-deprecating. I'm not throwing myself under the bus. I'm being very
Right.
honest
Right. You're
about,
being honest about what you do and what you don't do.
right. So now that I have that, now that I can stop pretending like I have to be good at funnels and landing page, I can do that. That's fine. And maybe that still needs to be done to your point. Like it's not like I'm
Right.
all of a sudden I never have to touch a landing page
Right.
again. But I can now design if I go, okay, well, if I really teaching is like where I come alive and I love doing it. That's the thing about an
Mm,
encoding is you love doing it.
yeah.
Why now I can design that into the growth of the business. Why would I not put all my eggs in that basket and design it that way? But I haven't because I've been telling myself this story called I need to do these other things. And that's the difference. And that so me teaching would be aligned action, if to bring it full circle, right? Aligned action is giving yourself permission to do the thing you love doing
Hmm.
and design it in such a way that it makes your business go. Design it into the business. So if it was a
Yeah,
real, yeah, go ahead.
no, I think that's exactly what we're talking about. I think that's where those things overlap is that,
Yeah,
um, I mean, one thought I had while you were talking about that was, what you say no to is clearly as important as what you say yes to.
yeah,
I'm not taking that meeting. I'm not doing this. I don't, people are sometimes, I can't say no. It comes up in time management a lot.
yeah.
When people are like, I can't say no to that. Yeah, yes, you can. You can say
Mhm.
no. And
Yeah.
in fact, you've got to learn to say no, and including if you're doing that thing that you don't like to do,
Mhm. Yeah.
you got to say no to the intrusive thoughts that would have you not do it, like just watch cat videos. Or, again, real estate
Right.
specific phenomena, right? Agents
Yeah,
without
yeah,
business
yeah.
resist getting on the phone or whatever,
Right.
and wind up watching cat videos till I don't know what they imagine things business is going to show up, but um, that's not this business. That's not what this business is. If you want to do that, then if cat videos light you up, great, let's do that. But otherwise, you got to say no to those intrusive thoughts. Same thing with the dessert table that I was just at,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
so let's just bring that in because so I'm on for those of you that haven't been following.
Mhm.
Um, I'm on a diet. I resist the word diet, so I call it metabolic reset. Sounds so much more official.
Yeah, that's
But
that's
it's a
so
calorie
evolved.
deficit. It's an inducing a calorie deficit, whatever. I'm on a diet, and I want to lose. I have a goal to get down to 200. That would be 195 is sort of like a dream. I can't imagine getting under 200, but there we go. Right, get under 200, and do it in a way that's sustainable. Do it in a way I'd like to do it quickly, but I'd like to find a way to sustain it. I'm not.
Mhm.
I've done this before,
Yeah.
but I haven't done it since I really took on meditation as an access to agency of attention.
Mhm.
It's a new skill set I think I've developed. And I think that's
Yeah.
I haven't talked about it that way yet, but I think that's an important way to speak about one of the benefits of meditation is that it develops a new skill set
Mm.
about agency of attention, like where my attention rests is up to me.
Yeah.
Not what I think about, not the thoughts I have, but where I rest my attention.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that what has in the past existed to me as hunger,
Mm.
like I'm hungry, like I
Yeah.
woke up, like I got back from the gym this morning. I do CrossFit, and then part of the diet is intermittent fasting, so I don't eat till noon. And um, I had the experience of being hungry this morning. I had um, but I didn't even sit with it for a moment. I just noticed it for like half a second, just like an instant. Like I was like, oh, that's, I mean, maybe it's real hunger, but I'm not really hungry. I mean, I'm 210 pounds. I'm not wasting away
Yeah.
in a physiological way. I couldn't really argue that the hunger was justified.
Mhm.
Like, okay, this, you see starving people and they're hungry. That's like
Right.
they actually experience hunger, like real
Yeah.
hunger. This for me was just like a thought. And without me having agency of attention, I would go down a road of being justified and having breakfast because, and then whatever
Mhm.
reason I needed would be right there. I could feed that thought. I'm hungry.
Mhm. Right.
Justifications to act on it.
Mhm.
Or I could just notice it. Oh, there's the thought. I'm hungry. Now, where am I going to rest my attention?
Hmm.
I could let it spiral on how hungry I am until it distracts me from doing anything else, which is a pattern that I'm used to, familiar with. And I was just at a dessert, I was at a function where they had a dessert potluck, which is a unique thing because that means there's a lot of different, very cool looking desserts that are all bite size.
Yeah.
All right. It's different than being at dinner where there's one dessert. This was a buffet of bite size homemade desserts,
Mm.
cookies and cakes and whatnot. And I mean, I certainly had the thought to indulge in it. It wasn't like the thought didn't come up, but it wasn't also like I needed to suppress the thought.
Mm.
It wasn't like I needed to do something with the thought. I could just let the thought hang out. Like, okay, those do look delicious, and I'm not doing that right now,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm.
and I'm not doing that right now. Here's what I am doing. And the same thing goes with lead gen or anything else that you're committed to. You know, was it a burden? Did it occur like uh, um, a punishment or you know what? I don't know. There's another word that I'm looking for. I've noticed that my brain is,
Sacrifice, a
yeah,
sacrifice.
sacrifice. There you go. Was it a sacrifice? And it really wasn't the way, it wasn't in the way that I would have imagined it being,
Mm.
a year ago.
Right.
Like it would all occur like a sacrifice, like I'm losing something.
Hmm. Right. I can't have that.
I
I,
can't have that.
hmm.
And I'm burdened by the can't.
Hmm.
You know, it's something I want and I can't have it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it wasn't like that. It was like, it was something I wanted, but I'm not going to do that. It's funny because I've had this analogy in my head before and I hadn't really connected it to some other thing. Um, but being married, I mean, I certainly see other attractive women, you know, but I don't have any experience of, uh, I can't have that. Like
Right.
a sacrifice in some way.
Mm.
It's the agreement I made with my wife to not sleep with other women. And it's been 30 years. And it's also that there's not a buffet of homemade desserts in front of me about that.
Right.
There's not the
Right.
constant, you know, like I don't, so, but it's like that. It's like, oh, people are like, I don't want to, give up my right, I don't want to give up my freedom being married. Okay, well, then don't be married because you give up freedom when you're married. You give up rights. I lost the right of not calling when I stay out a long time ago. I gave that right up. I
Mm-hmm.
trade my rights for a lot of things for some other thing that I want.
Mm.
That's not an uncommon thing. But you don't have to, and you can eat whatever you want whenever you want it. If the most important thing for you is to do whatever you feel like doing when you feel like doing it, if that's the most important thing for you, then you should do that.
Mm. Mm.
But if you're able to control your attention in some way, if you have agency over your attention, you can rest it on longer term goals. You can rest it on longer term projects. You can rest it on things that don't produce immediate gratification. You
Yeah.
can rest it on what is Jim Collins called?
Encodings.
Yeah, you could, well, no, that's actually a different conversation. That's You can
Yeah.
rest it on whatever the outcome that you're committed
Oh,
to is,
sure.
right? And
Sure.
then, and so that's one thing. I think that's all how I get that part resolved. The other thing that I was thinking about meditation relative to encoding is how do you determine it? Like how do I know what the right thing for me to do is? What do I do with my life? When my daughter's in this phase now at 23 phase, but whatever. But she's 23 and she's, do I go to school? Do I go to trade school? Should I do this? Like doesn't have a strong pull
Hmm.
one way or the other. Doesn't have any thoughts about it. It has plenty of thoughts about it. Doesn't have any direction about it. Doesn't have any
Yeah.
place where she's settled. This is what makes my heart happy,
Right.
or this is what I'm encoded for. This is my calling, or this is the future that I'm committed to, or any of the various, and they're all different, but they're all directionally the same. They're all pointing the same direction. Um, and I think that's one of the things that meditation allows for is for that information to drop in.
Hmm.
When you settle the mind and you're no longer grasping at desires and aversions,
Yep.
you're not grasping for things I desire and avoiding things, right? If you're no longer
Yeah. Yeah.
in the throw of the automaticity of going for what we want and avoiding what we don't want,
Yeah.
if you
Right.
just let all that settle, the next path opens up.
Yeah, I mean, it's very specific. I mean, Jim Collins specifically says like it takes self-awareness to find you know, see your encodings. Like for you to really,
Yes.
you could say the same for aligned action. For you to really feel like the act to feel the action as aligned would require
Yeah.
you have self-awareness about what feels aligned.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm down the road on this conversation for some years now. And I'm saying to you on this particular episode, like I'm noticing right now how much I've been telling myself I need to do these other things. And it's prevented me from putting more eggs in the basket called teaching, coaching, the things I'm encoded for.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I have to do that. I mean, it's interesting. My son's in a similar place. He's 21 and he's kind of in that, he's floating right now. He
Mm.
doesn't know what to do with it. And with his life or with whatever. But I sometimes I think, but he's very self-aware. I think the challenge for him, and I would guess that just knowing you, I would imagine that your daughter's very self-aware. I would just think, I don't know that he doesn't know what his encodings are or have a sense of that. I think he doesn't know how to make a living. What am I going to do professionally? Which to me is that's different. Like he knows what he loves doing. So going back to the book, like in the book, Jim Collins is saying your encodings are the things you love doing. Toni Morrison loved writing, but she wasn't
Okay.
asking. Oh, this is interesting. Also, because part of what does he call this? Part of the way there are three things in his little model of this. So one is your encodings. One is what he calls flipping the arrow of money, flipping
Mm.
the arrow of money.
Talk to me about that.
And then the last one is focusing the fire. So flipping the arrow of money is basically like rather than think, I need to make this much money and then I'm going to go do what I need to do to make that much money, you think, what do I love doing? And then I'll figure out whatever I need to figure out
Yeah.
financially so that I can do what I love doing. So Toni Morrison is one of his first case studies. He talks about, and she loved writing and she would write whenever she had the chance to write. And she had another job that she did, and she had two kids. So she was being a mom to two kids. She'd write every moment she got, and she had this other job she needed to have. Oh, in fact, there's like he's like they went back through their case studies, and they're like there are 12 streams of income that people leaned on at different times. Not all 12, but like he's like the average per person were four different ways of making money while they were living out their encodings, right? So, and I'm not going to give you all 12 here, but it was everything from like getting a job to building a business to having friends and family support you to grant money. Like there were all kinds of different ways for you to flip the arrow of money so that it's not money that's driving you to action. It's your encodings. It's the thing you love doing. And then you figure out what you need to figure out to make a living. But you're
Mm.
not going to let money infringe on or stop you from the thing you love doing. Do the thing you love doing and figure out money. But this is not typically how we do it in the West, I feel, or maybe even the East, but I feel like in our free market, especially if you're in business, which is sort of who this podcast is for. Like if you're in business, so much of the culture is Lamborghini leaning and hustle to the, KPIs and money and GCI and volume and sales. And, you know, it's a lot about money. The focus, the driving, how we set goals is about money. Like a lot of it is like money and what's my strategy to get to money. It's not what do I love doing? And then let me go do that. And then I'll figure out the money piece as I go. I mean, that's Rick Rubin. I feel like to me, that's like the creative act. Do what you love. Do that.
Yeah.
Figure out the
Yeah.
money
Well, I
part.
think that's, Chris, it's funny because that's my experience in the building this mindfulness world out, right?
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah.
every time I do something, the universe puts the next step in front of me,
Mm.
and I
Mm.
got clear last May, actually, last year at this time, really at
Yeah.
this time, that it was time for me to un, uh, unwind my real estate business and move more into mindfulness. And but that was something that, came to me and it's been unwinding. I still, I had my first six-figure quarter last year, after that. So, but I've stopped putting my attention on it so much and uh like driving for it. So it is
Yeah.
possible to have the abundance, the wealth, the freedom
Yeah.
for all that, but you've got to be able to move one step, at a time, one little area, you know,
Yeah.
but without, it's not about the extreme of it, it's about moving directionally.
Yeah.
And trust that, that's the other thing that I think meditation provides and why I teach. This is really good. This really gets into why I teach the mindfulness, why the how to live a grateful life in a fucked up world is a sliding scale from zero to
Mm.
whatever. Um, because part of what is necessary, I think, if you're looking for your encoding or what makes you happy and you're scared to act on it,
Right.
the thing that works is to trust the universe. This is the guided hand,
Yeah. The invisible
is to
hand.
tune into the
Yeah.
guided hand.
Yeah.
And so I can't teach mindfulness as a transaction for a bunch of reasons. One of which is if I'm teaching people how to trust
Yeah. Yeah.
the universe, I can't, I have to be that.
Right.
I can't be that $700 to learn how to trust the universe. It has to be, look, I'm going to teach you how to trust the universe, and I trust you to pay me what that's worth to you.
Yeah.
It just has to be that way. So I'm going to let you work it out because I trust you, and this is what it is to trust the universe. Is that I mean, in addition to that, mindfulness is not mine to sell. So
Right.
I didn't invent it.
Right. 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 Jim talks about trusting the encodings, so, which is, I think, adjacent to trusting the universe. There is something where you're trusting something to unfold. You're
Mhm.
trusting the unfolding of something, you know, um, which I think I've done a lot of. I think sometimes, and well, that might be a whole episode, but I just think sometimes like I get long, what is it? Long in the tooth. I get long. I don't know what I'll go down the road for a while being really, really um, engaged in the encoding, engaged in the work, engaged in my vision. And then I think I end up getting like the frustrated that something's not happening sooner. Like I stop trusting the unfolding of things. You know, and I think that's normal. I think that's a part of it. But to your point about meditation and mindfulness, bringing the attention back to that higher vision, that higher perspective, like
Yeah.
what's the commitment? What am I here for?
What may and back to Toni Morrison. What do you love to do? What would you do anyway?
Right. Right. And that's so funny because if you can just, it's just so, I mean, it's in some ways, it's very simple. Like if you can just do what you love to do and put it in front of, do it in a way that works, like whatever. Like he was like, some people in his study were in Jim Collins' study were introverts, and they did not want to go out. It's like they would like one person was a researcher and found, a job at a research facility and got to do her life's work. I think she got some big, humanitarian award or something for the work she did. But she didn't, that wasn't what it was about for her. She wasn't trying to get on stage or have an award. She just wanted to solve the puzzle pieces of the research stuff she was doing. And she found a way to make that work for her. But she stayed connected to the passion, the love of doing it. And I think sometimes I can lose sight of the love of doing it because I'm
Yeah.
frustrated that I don't have whatever result I was expecting.
Yeah. And we need it more. And then I get scared and I got to make something happen. And then this isn't right. And I'm worried about it. And now I'm obsessing about it. Did I make
Yeah.
the right call? Did?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yes. That's the counter. I don't know if it's a paradox, but that's the thing about trusting your encodings or aligned action, taking aligned action, not because it's going to get you to the money tomorrow.
right.
You don't know. Nobody, by the way, you don't know. You don't, you could track, I suppose, you could track all the amount of touches you make and everything you do and try to find a correlation. This many dials gives me this many appointments, gives me this many contracts, gives me this many close. I mean, you could try to organize your world that way to be like, what's the cause and effect of my life? And if you like doing that, cool. But most of us, I don't think, like doing that. It takes me out of the art of it for me. I don't want to sit there and statistician my life to death. I want to be present to the life I'm living. So
Yeah, I think that's right.
yeah,
I think that's good.
it is good. It is good. So is that we should put a pin in it. It feels like you're.
I think that's where
I
we
think
want to end. Yeah.
I think so. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Look, we've made this invitation before, but share this with somebody if you find this helpful, or you think there's somebody in their life who really is working through their encodings right now, or really sort of frustrated in their life or their job. Um, Share this with them, and maybe this will encourage them. So, all right, friends. Peace. See you next time.